performance racing industry trade show coming up next week, I thought I'd share my top 10 tips for trade show success as an attendee. So my very first tip, if you have not already registered, I registered a while back and I got my passes this last week, and that's what reminded me to shoot this video. But if you haven't registered yet, do it now. I mean, there's not time for you to get your pass in the mail, but you just go to performanceracing.com/trade show, click on attendees, and you'll be able to register for the show. That's going to save you a ton of time. In order to be able to get in, you'll be able to go just to will call, pick up your pass, and you'll be on your way. My number 2 tip, this is something that PRI has done for the last few years, is their app. And I love it. I've been using it for the past couple of years, and it's been invaluable for me to be able to get stuff done at the show. So in this app, you register for the app or you download it. It's a free download, and there are 2 ways you can use it. You can go on a computer and go to the show planner, and you can click through and select the exhibitors that you'd like to do there, or you can do it right in the app. Either way, with your login information, it'll save it, so it's completely synced up, and it's super easy to use. I like to use the exhibitor section, and you can look at them alphabetically, for instance, and when I look at these, I can then put a star next to any of the exhibitors that I want to see. Now, what I've done in past years is I've unstarred them, even though I kind of felt bad. It was almost like unliking a Facebook post or something, but I see now that in the app this year, they've added the feature where you can mark an exhibitor as you've already visited them. So that makes it even better. Tip number 3 is bring business cards with you, because there will be spots where you're going to want to pass on your information. If you don't have business cards, another tip is to perhaps bring address labels. That way, if there are any drawings that you want to enter, or if they need your information to send you more information later, then you'll be able to pass that on, and it'll save you time and not having to write down all of your information every time. My 4th tip, this is a big show, and it's a lot of walking. I wore my Fitbit last year, and I was walking 12 to 15,000 steps a day, which was quite a bit for me. So I definitely recommend wearing comfortable shoes, shoes that aren't going to blister your feet and make your trip miserable. It might be a small thing, but it is a huge deal when you have 3 days of this. My tip number 5 is bring cash. Although this isn't a major selling show like you see with expos and auctions, there will be some booths that maybe have items that are for sale right there. And rather than trying to figure out if their credit card machine is working or trying to find an ATM, just having cash on you is a good idea, so that you'll be able to just handle it right there. My tip number 6 is what kind of bag you want to have with you. I have yet to see a year when PRI doesn't have some type of bag, but when you load this up with like 15 pounds worth of catalogs and it's hanging down on your shoulder, it can hurt your back and your shoulders, or at least it does with me. I don't like how it digs into my shoulder muscles. So I like bringing a backpack with me or a messenger bag in order to make that trip more comfortable. And my tip number 7 is I brought out the tape measure to remind me about measurements, because if there are certain things that you're looking for your car, you know, say a suspension item, having those measurements on hand with you is a great idea. Maybe have a little notebook with you, or in your smartphone you could open up the Notes app and have those measurements right there. And it's not a bad idea to have a tape measure with you, just so you can measure things that you see in booths. Tip number 8 kind of goes with the measurements. If there are things that you're looking for that you really need to demonstrate, pictures are a great thing to have. So, you know, for instance, maybe you're looking for headers and you have a particular situation with your chassis. Nothing's really going to explain that better than having both the pictures and the measurements to explain to the manufacturer, and that way they can get you set up with the right thing. And plus, pictures, you know, have them on your phone. If you've got some bragging pictures, maybe some from Victory Lane, have them on your phone in your photos, so that you don't have to dig through Facebook or somebody else's Facebook and stand there for 5 minutes just trying to find a photo. So have those handy right there in your phone. My tip number 9 is hydration. Do not forget this. Couple of things that are different about a trade show. Number 1, at any convention center is going to be super dry. And also it's wintertime in Indianapolis, and that can certainly dry out your throat, and by like day 2 or 3 it could make it so it's hard to talk. And then when you add to it, if you're enjoying the nightlife and having a drink or 5, then that can certainly dehydrate you as well. So just be prepared, and it's a good idea to have your water bottle in your bag. And then my last tip number 10, and this is probably the most important tip I have to offer for you today, is time management. This is a big show with a lot of cool, fun stuff, and you're going to run into tons of your friends, people you haven't seen for a long time. But unfortunately, if you get sidetracked, then it's really possible for you to go to this show and not get done the things that you wanted to get done. So in fact, I did a little bit of math here to kind of put this into perspective. There are 60,000 attendees at this show, or at least those were the numbers from last year. That means a lot of people in those aisles, and it can make it tough to get from one booth to another. But there are 1,181 exhibitors this year. I just got that number yesterday from PRI. And given the show hours, if you were to try to visit every single exhibitor at the show, you could spend 1.16 minutes per exhibitor. That's no walking time, that's no breaks. So in other words, you can't see every single exhibitor that's at this show. So I did a little bit more math here to make it a little more realistic. So if you go all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we take out an hour combined for restroom breaks and lunch, and that would allow you, if you were to spend 10 minutes per booth, you could get to 120 booths. Now honestly, that's not that realistic just because there's so many people and there's so much people traffic that are in your way, but it gives you at least it gives you a perspective. On the other hand, if you were to spend 15 minutes per booth, then you could get to about 80 booths. And that's being pretty efficient right there as well. So time management, number 1. I mean, this app that I mentioned earlier, plan your show, plan who you're going to see, and make sure that the ones that you really, really want to see, get to them first so that you can make sure that you can check off those boxes, visit your sponsors, because it's really easy to get caught up in, oh man, running into people, telling stories, and unfortunately, I mean, if you're doing that at the show, you're not going to get your stuff done, but there's so much networking time, happy hour, and after the show, and it's really the time to tell stories. But those are my top 10 tips for attending PRI. I hope to see you next week, and if I don't, you're going to see some of the coverage from the show on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook page. You can just look us up on Crate Insider. Thanks so much for watching.